What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode with Frank and Gordon, where we discuss life skills on how to help you become more confident, more credible, and activated in whatever you do.
In this video, we're going to continue discussing the powerful skill of persuasion. Since this is a massive topic, we're going to break it down into bite-sized episodes, carrying on from last week, to ensure that you absorb every drop of this powerful skill. Now, if this is your first time and you want to keep following us for more tips on how you can further develop yourself, you know the drill.
That's right, guys. Make sure to hit the subscribe button along with the bell, and don't forget to give this video the thumbs up. Also, feel free to leave a comment in the section below, and don't forget that besides our YouTube channel, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Mentioned in the first episode in this series on persuasion, whichever way you look at it, persuasion skills are an indispensable tool that you must acquire, you must perfect if you're going to reach your potential and be a success in any field.
We all try to get a point across or get someone to agree with us every day, many times a day, right, Frank?
That's right.
We always need to win over other people for one reason or another, and without persuasion skills, we would have a tough time doing that, guys.
And that's exactly right. Persuasion is one of the most important qualities to having if you want to be happy and successful. Being a great persuader gives you great power.
The opposite is also true, Frank. If you're not good at persuading, you will feel disarmed and powerless, basically.
However, as we said last week, the good news is that persuasion skills can be learned,
That's right.
They can be developed and mastered. That's right.
Now, the first pillar of persuasion, which we discussed in our last episode, was the words we use. Our words are vitally important.
They must be clear and logical. They should grab people's attention and lead them in a structured way from point A to point B.
And we can do that by using stories, questions, facts, figures, and so on.
That's right. But today, Gordon, we're going to discuss the second pillar of persuasion, which is credibility. Now, the question is, what exactly is credibility?
Well, simply put, credibility refers to being trustworthy, honest, and dependable.
It also refers to competence, character, and reputation.
It also has to do with transferring sincerity from you to the person you are speaking with.
We also need to emphasize that credibility has a lot to do with establishing and even presenting yourself as an expert in your field.
That's right.
Or an expert on the subject which you're discussing. So if you're not an expert, you must certainly position yourself as though you are one.
Kind of like faking it till you make it, right, Frank?
Well, why not? I mean, make no mistake about it. The person you are working to persuade must see these traits in you if he's to subconsciously allow you to lead and persuade him.
What we also need to state, Frank, is that credibility is not a stable personality trait.
That's right. In fact, it fluctuates day by day. It fluctuates case by case, depending on your demeanor, on your conduct, on your knowledge on the subject, the confidence which you exhibit, and so on.
The point is that the more credible you show yourself to be, the more trust people will assign to you. So, Frank, why is credibility so important in persuasion?
Well, credibility is an extremely important pillar in the overall formula to persuading others. The reason why we label these as pillars, by the way, is because without one of them, persuasion, your efforts to persuade begin to crumble. They begin to collapse.
If people don't see you as credible, how can they ever believe you? How will they ever follow you and act on your words?
Exactly.
Without credibility, it will be extremely difficult, or we should say impossible, to persuade others. People will not follow you or act on your words if they don't see you as being credible.
Unless you're able to firmly establish credibility in the mind of your prospect or in the mind of the person you're speaking to, persuading them will be extremely difficult.
That's right.
I mean, ask yourself, would you want to take advice from a novice or from a professional? Would you want to purchase a property from a novice or an expert? Would you want to buy a vehicle or stocks from a novice or an expert? I think the answer is obvious.
We all want to deal with experts. This is why credibility is so important for persuasion, guys.
Credibility is the foundation of leadership. People follow you because you're credible. People will believe the message if they believe the messenger.
So we've spoken about what credibility is and why it's important in persuasion. Another question would be, how can one develop credibility, Frank?
Well, people judge credibility in many ways. They'll judge our actions, our confidence, they'll listen to what we say and how we say it, the way we dress, our status, and importantly, they're going to be looking at our reputation.
That's right.
We've got to be working on all these things every single day. We've got to work at dressing better, we've got to work at being more confident, standing upright, putting bounce in our step, energy in the things we do. We've got to be confident.
Now, what about knowledge, Frank? I mean, because knowledge is very important, you have to come across as being an expert. In other words, you better know your stuff.
Well, the thing is, if you're in sales, for example, you need to know everything there is to know about your product. You need to know your product inside out, back to front, upside down. You need to know everything.
The whole thing.
Even if you're having a conversation about something, you need to know the topic. You need to know something about the topic you're discussing.
You need to know your stuff.
So essentially, exactly, you need to know your stuff.
Now, these are all important aspects for us to work on, and this on a constant basis. What's interesting is, and this we already mentioned, and this is important to note, is that the amount of credibility that is originally assigned to you will shift depending on what you say, how you say it, and whether or not your words and actions tally. So they have to be balanced out. They have to be in sync.
That's right.
Credibility is assigned to you on your level of knowledge and on the subject being discussed.
Every single thing that a person says or doesn't say, every single thing that a person does or doesn't do, either strengthens and promotes credibility or lessens it.
This means you need to show yourself as being sincere, trustworthy, and reliable, and therefore a credible individual that can be believed and trusted.
That's right. You must come across as being totally on the ball. People want to see you as being a problem solver. That's what credibility is about.
Right.
They want to see you as being a problem solver who's worth listening to. And so you've got to demonstrate and you've got to come across as someone who has mental speed. You've got to demonstrate and come across as being a fast decision maker.
That's it.
And you've got to have knowledge on the subject being discussed. So you must actually become an expert in your field. We keep stressing this. You've got to become an expert in your field so that you know what you're about to say, you know what you're talking about, and that you talk with confidence and clarity.
You must talk the talk and walk the walk. You have to be an authority figure of the subject to the point that you are a force to be reckoned with. Come across as being highly competent and ultra knowledgeable to come off as a world-class expert. This will gain the other person's respect for them to give you control and allow you to lead them. This is an important pillar of persuasion.
So, Gordon, today we discussed what credibility is,
that's right,
why it's so important to be able to persuade people,
and how to build it,
and how to build credibility.
That's right.
Now, next week we're going to bring you the third pillar of persuasion, which actually happens to be our favorite.
That's right.
So we're super excited to bring that to you, and until then, remember that if you want to effectively persuade, you've got to be credible.
That's right. Well, that's all we got for you guys today. Just a small reminder to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for our latest updates and posts.
And don't forget, we've got an exciting announcement to make.
That's right, guys. Write this down. www.frankandgordon.com. Go and check us out. Thanks a million for watching, guys. And until next week, remember, pillar number 1,
work on your words.
Pillar number 2,
work on your credibility. And on that note,
see you next week.